Hi, that's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek. My name is Shawn Shaler. This is Avatar The Last Podcasters. Yeah, it's weird to have you down there for once. This is Avatar The Last Podcasters, but big
That's what she
news.
said. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Heyo! Chris, we're not marked as explicit anywhere. The Actually, fun miniature story in a moment. But this is a huge day because we are finally, after like 2.5 years of podcasting total or something like that, we are finally getting to Legend of Korra, Book 1, Chapter 1. It starts today, and that is very important because today also coincides with. You know what? I can't say that yet because I didn't even ask you how you are. Chris, first, how are you? Cliffhanger.
I am doing relatively decent compared to other issues going on in the world.
That is a nice way to put it. It has very Bryan Konietzko of you to put it that way. No, I joke about it, but it was really nicely worded. We'll touch on that more in a second. Chris, thanks for being here. I know we're double recording and it's really late, but it was a very big deal to both of us, I think, that we record this today because tomorrow is a special day, or today, when you actually listen to this, is a special day because The Legend of Korra is officially on Netflix as of today. After 4 weeks of Avatar The Last Airbender earlier this year, ranked number one show for like 4 consecutive weeks, which is amazing. So they went out and they grabbed Legend of Korra, and you can watch it all on Netflix as of Friday in America, Friday, August 14th, 2020. And we both obviously highly recommend that you go do that as soon as humanly possible. Chris, thoughts on Korra on Netflix?
I am excited for people to watch this. I'm excited for new fans to watch it who are new fans of Avatar because I'm curious. One thing, Legend of Korra is critically acclaimed, like, no doubt about it. Like it has plenty of nominations. It is one of the best cartoons there ever was and is. But there's a certain set of Avatar fandom who hates Legend of Korra. I think nostalgia plays a little bit part of it, and so I'll be curious how new fans um, react to it who don't have the same nostalgia for Avatar.
Nostalgia absolutely plays a factor. I've got a whole room full of nostalgic stuff that is probably actually bad in reality behind me, so I totally get it. But I'm excited. I hope those people all give it a separate chance, another chance. Now, 10 years removed or whatever from the original content, it's time they give it another chance. So that's great Netflix news. It's so exciting, and we're so excited that it timed out well enough that we were able to plot this video on this day. It's very exciting when stuff like that works out. But we do have some bad Netflix news. We're not going to burn through too much here because we already did a video about it, and we encourage you to go check it out. It was our emergency podcast. Bryan Konietzko and Michael Dante DiMartino are out they're no longer involved with the Netflix live action adaptation of Avatar The Last Airbender. And again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just thought, Chris, if you wanted to try your best to summarize our thoughts here, because we can't not talk about it. It's still fresh enough. We can't just ignore it in this cast.
Yes, we both hate it. We both wonder why would Netflix do this. One thing, they haven't been great at live action adaptations like Death Note, like Bleach, like um, Full Metal Alchemist. Those things were not great adaptations. They do have The Witcher, but even though Witcher was just good, and The Witcher is an adaptation of a book or a novel, which is I think easier to adapt than like anime or a cartoon. So I'm not going to give him credit for that anyway. And that was just good. Um,
I didn't hate Bleach, but it wasn't good. There's a difference, right? I know what
yeah,
I like versus what's good. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't good. I love The Witcher, and I'd probably give it a little more praise than you, but not quite as much as natural fans of the game and such. But you're right; it's a different story. I can't think of a live action adaptation that's gone really well for them. I I don't keep up on this stuff quite as well as some people, but I don't know. We're all scared to get burned again.
yeah.
But we
That,
have
that that's a big part of it. Is that we've been burned before, and just, hey Netflix, why not just do what the creators say? They say it was creative differences, and that was the reasoning, which is a vague term. But Mike and Bryan's statements say a lot that they weren't living up to their Netflix wasn't living up to their part of the deal, and their vision of it wasn't in spirit of Avatar. Um, but maybe we have a little bit more information on this, according to the website Fandom Wire. So I'll read what they claim to know why Avatar: The Last Airbender's creators really left Netflix. So let's see. Also, I just want to shout out to Theo Brown. He sent this to me like while we were recording our last podcast. So because then they were going over this little bit of maybe information, which I would just say take with a grain of salt because I really don't think we'll really know what happened until the show comes out. So they give 3 reasons why. So Phantom Wire spoke exclusively to multiple sources inside Netflix in the upcoming Avatar: Last Airbender series. It's helped to confirm the real reasons behind their exit. So that's what they say that they spoke, which could be like, oh yeah, I spoke to this person who knew a person who knew a person. But
They were
reason
inside
number one.
Netflix, like, yeah, they worked in the cafeteria or whatever, they hear things.
Reason number one, the budget. It says the creators wanted a bigger budget. This one is the least surprising since it's a common request for any showrunner. Filmmakers always wanted more money to properly build their vision, but Netflix felt it was already spending as much as they believed they needed to pull off the series they wanted. It goes on to say that Michael and Bryan worked in animation and are not as experienced in creating live action projects. It's not surprising that Netflix may have balked at the show's growing budget. I don't believe that if because Avatar's huge. To me, if I'm Netflix and I'm within this Game of Thrones, I support it. And Bryan and Michael's comments didn't make it seem like it had anything to do with budget. Um, and I'm not saying that maybe budget wasn't a small fraction of it. I could see it maybe being something like, well, you think it was budget, but to me, that's not any reason to quit to walk out on the show.
Maybe some miscommunicated expectations from guys that came from animation, over to live action, sure, but I just can't see, and this is purely bias, obviously, but I can't see Bryan and Michael being the type of guys that would like waltz in and say, no, we need this many dollars to do this thing the right way. It doesn't mesh with the other type of things that they have done. But again, that's pure bias.
Yeah.
I'm talking with my microphone by my head, but I hope you heard most of that because I'm not going to repeat it. It was good enough.
I heard most of it.
Good enough.
The next reason is the diversity of cast. It says, aside from reining in the budget, Netflix also wanted the ability to consider some white actors for the series. This was a non-starter for the creators who were insistent that not a single white actor be on the series. While some have criticized the creators, both white, for their appropriation of Asian characters and culture voiced predominantly by white actors, whatever. Many find their take respectful and much needed shot of Eastern and Western representation. It says they're going to say we're told that casting decisions are still early on, and that Netflix merely wanted the option to audition with an open net of nationalities, including white actors, but the creators refused. I don't necessarily buy that because they should have known what they were getting into. Michael Brown's pretty open from the get go what they're going to cast and how they're going to cast it. But
I mean, that's easier to believe for me than the previous thing, but yeah, I agree. It's hard
yes, that is easy for me to believe in this thing.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I think. Okay, I know. I feel like I'm cherry picking the things that I agree with in this. I mean, I'm just giving my opinion on it.
And I mean, yeah, and obviously it's just opinionated, but it's hard to say how credible any of this is to begin with. So just opinions on opinions.
So then they say the overall tone, which I agree with more. It says while budget and casting issues can usually find a middle ground, the biggest issue by far was the fact that Netflix and the creators could not unify on a common overall tone for the show. Netflix currently wants to age up Aang, Zuko, Katara, and Sokka. They also want to separate the live action series from the animated one by creating a darker, mature tone with more romance, sets, and blood. DiMartino and Konietzko disagreed and remained adamant that the show remained aimed at kids. While the two creators did each release broad statements explaining their exit from the show, Netflix released a statement as well, whatever. So as we said before, I can definitely see that being the case, which I've said before that they want to age them, that maybe Netflix wants to age them up, make it more, sexualize the characters. I didn't mention blood before, but that also makes sense that they might want to add blood. Because Mike and Bryan aren't, from all my interviews, I've seen them in, I don't know the person at all. I would love to meet them one day. Please, Mike and Bryan, come on the pod. I know they're not listening.
Listen, I
That's
know you
just the
guys' Twitters don't have the little blue check marks, but we're gonna at you. Come on the show. Okay, thanks.
um, to me, I've never got the sense from them they liked all that like gory type of stuff.
I mean, half
Um,
the reason,
or
not half the reason, part of the reason for something like bending is so that you can avoid that sort of natural hand to hand combat violence in some regard, right? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm pulling stuff out of my rear end here, but that seems like part of the reason for bending is to like skirt around some violent things. Maybe not.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's all the reasons why they have. I think the reasons. I have a feeling. I don't know, just the way that I write like articles or things like that. I have a feeling the first two ones weren't that big of a deal, even to whoever was talking to them, just because they want more content for the for the article, and they
Mm,
ended with by far the biggest issue was the overall tone. So I have more
just clickbait kind of filler stuff, yeah. The
filler
third
stuff,
one,
filler stuff. Yeah.
and the third one just, I'm not saying it sounds like Netflix necessarily in a negative way, like Netflix is trying to do what they think is best for their overall business and trying to compete with, like, that one sounds sort of real and relatable from both sides. Like, I get it. I'm not saying it makes it okay at all. I'm just, it sounds the most real to me. That, I can see it explain a lot. Now that we're talking about skirting around violence, though, you remember the Screen Junkies, the honest trailers for TMNT 2, the second one, where they point out they never actually use the weapons. I just want you to
That's
remember because you ruined that movie for me and it haunts me to this day. Thanks
I
for
remember
ruining my
exactly
childhood.
when I ruined it for you.
It was a horrible day.
we were
That
at we were at work, and I was like, "Have you seen this?"
that was probably one of my favorite movies. And it might be the first movie I saw in theaters as a baby. Like, I don't remember it, but if I'm not mistaken, it might have been the first one I saw in theaters as a baby. So you kind of ruined my whole life, but it's fine. I forgive you.
Okay.
Anyway, uh, go watch our original video. We tried to respond as fast as we could yesterday, or I guess Wednesday, August 12th. We tried to make a video real quick, put our thoughts together. Mostly it's mad, but we'd love to hear your thoughts also. Maybe it's not all bad. Chris, it's been a long time since we have just
Yeah.
given you the opportunity to talk about your latest videos, your latest YouTube stuff.
I don't have as much time to do as many videos as before. I have a newborn and a job and everything. Although I think I'm gonna start making more time. I'm currently working on a couple different videos. The most last one I came out with was a Netflix Legend of Korra casting, but I just change that because if Legend of Korra happens, it probably won't be on Netflix, or maybe whatever.
Probably not
But I have the
now,
video
yeah.
out. Another video I'm working on is the untold story of Avatar Korra, video essay about him and why his story is so important. And then I kind of want to work on a quick video of who could possibly replace Bryan and Mike as showrunners for the Netflix series. So I've been doing a little bit of homework on that. That one really shouldn't take all that long, I don't think.
Do you think they would go external though? It seems to me like they would just grab somebody already familiar with the direction at this point internally. I don't,
Um,
maybe not. I don't know a lot about the industry.
I mean, I had that thought, but Bryan and Mike, one thing that they weren't, they've never been showrunners for a live action show, so their experience wasn't all as much as probably Netflix would have usually wanted. This is a big property, so if I had a feeling Netflix, I could see them potentially being like, we need to bring in somebody to really run this ship really well. And the people they left behind, I don't think those people are necessarily showrunners. I'm sure they're writers and do other things, but I'm not sure there's a showrunner in there. And so it's pure speculation that they need somebody to come in and replace Mike and Bryan as the showrunners.
I'll be interested either way and certainly keep more tabs on it than I would if anything else like this on Netflix. I'm very curious to see where it goes.
That's it.
Yeah. I haven't really made any videos lately, but I did want to mention a while back I said I had a friend who wanted to try a podcast, and we tried it last week, and it was about Pokemon. and which I realized as soon as we started talking about Pokemon that like it kind of makes you appreciate how great a story Avatar is when you look at some other very large piece of your childhood like Pokemon, and then we watch that first episode together, and you realize this is garbage. This is terrible. It's horrible. And then I still love it. Again, not trying to trash that, but like I'm still watching it through right now because it's been a lot of fun. And I might actually ask him if I can do a couple more with him. I don't know if he. I think he liked it well enough that he wants to continue doing more in some capacity. But it was a lot of fun. But it just gave me a new level of respect for Avatar just because how much time I spent on Pokemon. One thing I will point out while I'm trashing Pokemon here: remember that the games came first, and everything else was secondary or tertiary to the game. So you know what? It's not probably super easy to make a TV show about a game where half of it you spend grinding and the other half of it you spend catching bugs. So I get it, but wow, wow, it's got some rough edges. So, but anyway, yeah, I would like to show people our
Sorry,
Pokemon podcast. We had a good
I'm
time.
I'm laughing because apparently my internet stopped working for like 10 or 15 seconds, and you were talking the whole time, and I heard nothing until, and then you're just catching bugs.
You just you just totally froze, and all it was me explaining that Pokemon started as a video game. So unlike most properties where it's a toy and then you make a show to sell a toy, or you make a show purely out of a show or whatever, like no, this started from a very simple video game also. So I was just trying to make up because I felt bad for trashing Pokemon when I love it, but it's a garbage TV show. But I look forward. Yeah, I'm going to share what we did at a bare minimum to get some good feedback. And like I said, we both had a good time, and I look forward to giving it another try at some point. And that's all I got. I think if you are ready, I think it's time to kick off Korra officially, finally, 2.5 years later. Can you hear me? You look
Yes.
like you can't hear me. Okay, you can hear me. Great. All right, let's do Korra. Let's go. Woo! Korra!
All
There's a
right. The
picture that's
legend,
necessary.
the legend of Korra. I love. First of all, if anyone's here to like just watch someone rip on Legend of Korra, that's not what I'm here for. I mean, I'm here to objectively look at it, but also I'm here to just be like, I love this show. Um, it starts off, I think, really well with. Um, wait, you say Katara tackles air? Wait? Katara tackles air.
Airbending.
Oh,
Tries.
you mean
Not.
Korra?
Oh my goodness, I see what you're saying. Oh, how embarrassing. Yeah, you're right, I did. You know what I also left? You can see the little caption that I use because I pull all my pictures off the Avatar wiki. And you can see I forgot to delete it because it's in white, so I didn't see it down there. So nobody, nobody
Mm.
look at the video quality today. We had a long night, okay, yesterday. It's been a busy week. Busy week. I agree entirely. The
Yes.
first 5 minutes
Um,
of this start off adorably and exciting. It's both.
yes. So it starts off White Lotus in the North Pole, and they come to this door, and they've been looking for the Avatar, and then they're like, "Are you sure your child's the Avatar?" We search, in the South Pole. I'm sorry, we searched in the North Pole. We searched and even in the swamps, and then her mother is like, "I assure you, your search is over." And then, all right, well, show us the kid. And then
And
she
they're
just
like, "You
comes to the
sure your
door.
kid is it?" And they're like, "Corey, come here."
Yeah. And then she earthbends through the door and just says, "I'm the Avatar. You gotta deal with it." And she water bends, and she earth bends, and she fire bends. Uh, Potbelly Korra is so adorable.
She got that little kid rolls. What do you call those? Like the
Okay,
little baby
so
fat kind of.
in my head canon, at one point, Kyoshi was like talking to somebody who didn't agree with her, and then she just said, "I'm the Avatar. You have to deal with it." And then Korra just instinctively picked that up.
I could believe that. Yeah.
And then it goes right into her firebending training, which oftentimes, when people talk about Korra's fighting ability, I think they underestimate her strategic thinking when fighting, or her fighting prowess. Like, she's been trained since for to be a fighter. Like she's just not. She's she just isn't all brute force. Like in this fight, you see her thinking. Right, this firebender guy comes at her. He jumps in the air, fire bends. She sees that he's airborne, so she kicks his leg, knocks him out off the floor, and then he's kind of down for a little bit second. Then she can focus on this person, and then at one point she jumps over, leaps over this person, throws a fireball at him. But that was like more of a what they call it a feint because the guy blocks that one, and then she
Just to
unleashes a
get him
bigger
to
one on
move.
him.
Yeah.
Like you can see the wheels turning. Yeah, just yeah, you can see the wheels turning in Korra's head of like what to do in a fight. Like like often, I'm telling you, people sleep on Korra's fighting ability, even her mental fighting ability, while they praise Aang of like, oh, Aang is a strategist and stuff, as if Aang is Batman or something. He can like strategize his way out of something.
And
But
I don't know
Korra's
why
no,
they would do that in particular. Just like so far to me, this whole episode, we're like, what, 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in? And so far, everything about the episode has like existed purely to show you what a gifted fighter she is. And, we've had the
yes, yeah,
conversation before, like the who would win, Korra and Aang, and I'm still going to stand by it because, this is my second watch through. So my first episode that I've watched the second watch through. But I've always just said, 9 times out of 10, Aang's just going to get away and she's never going to catch him. It's going to be a stalemate, which is like a victory for Aang. But it just feels like this whole episode, at least this early portion, like exists to distinguish her from Aang in this
yes,
capacity. Like aggressive, coming out of the gate knowing three elements, full of sass.
exactly.
Like she's a fighter.
Yeah, they do a lot of great character work here in this episode. Much more character work focusing on Korra than story work, which they don't really get into that until maybe episode three.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, Korra and even the White Lotus guy, who I don't like this guy. Where did this guy
He
come
doesn't act like a good White Lotus guy at all.
from? It's like Korra's always excelled at the physical aspect of bending, but you ignored the spiritual, which is like, well, I didn't ignore it. It just doesn't come easy to me. Um,
Good answer.
yeah, and then he's like talking to Katara, like, do you really think she's ready? And Katara's like, yeah, she's ready. Which
Yeah.
is like, oh, yeah, Katara knows. How about you take the advice of a waterbending master who knew the Avatar intimately and more
Trying to
than
decide where you were going with that. Who knew him? Wink, wink.
yeah,
He, yeah, I don't know who that White Lotus guy is, but he's not my White Lotus. Come on, man. Iroh would have said she's ready. Come on, dude. Or he
yeah,
would have
and
helped her
also
instead of just critiquing one or the other.
yeah, and Korra's really adamant. Korra finally passes her firebending test, um, and they still and then Tenzin comes and Korra's like, whoo, I get to move on to that's three elements down and one to go. So Tenzin comes and visits, which great moment of meeting the airbending kids. You're kind of like, as a first time watching, you're kind of like, oh, more airbenders. That's really great, like really cool, like little airbending kids. And then there's the ultimate cockblockable story of Jinora asking Katara what happened to Zuko's mother because she's been like reading up on him, and then Katara's about to tell her the whole story, and then Ikki interrupts it by like just like doing that little kid thing where you ask a dozen questions. And I love Katara's like just looking at a child, just like, what are you doing? Like, I know that look of just like when a child is just rambling and rambling, you're just like, okay.
How do I break this train without ruining my kid's childhood?
Exactly. That's a it's a
I
balance.
don't remember how he does it either, but then I remember their mom walking up and Katara's like, "Yeah, another little airbender," because she's pregnant. She's like, "Maybe just
Yeah.
one that can't bend and ruin my life."
Yeah.
Poor
Um,
mom. I forget mom's name.
and then Tenzin pretty much tells Korra that he's not gonna be able to train her at the North Pole, which so real quick, people say that Korra is hot headed, she's aggressive, she doesn't listen to authority, things like that. Some of those things are true to various degrees, which is part of her character growth. But there's a reason why she is like this. Korra grew up hearing the stories of Avatar Aang and how he saved the world, and she wanted to be the Avatar. She wanted to be a superhero. They trained her to be a superhero, yet they didn't let her be a superhero. They caged her in the Southern Water Tribe, and the White Lotus um, treated her more like a something to be protected. And then, and of course, she wants to lash out. Like Korra is 17 years old. That is that's an adult, right? Marrying age in the Water Tribe is like 15, 16 years old, maybe. Korra's 17. She's a woman, and
Uh,
she's still being treated like a little kid.
Another opposite take of Aang. You mentioned these people are treating her like something to be protected when she wants to be out there, and it's like Aang's the exact opposite. He gets thrown into the fire. He'd probably love nothing more than to just be able
and
to hang out in the air temple a little
be
longer,
treated like
study
a
up a bit.
kid.
Yeah, so just again, it just exists to contrast Aang to this point.
Yes.
That's what I got to say
Another
about
point.
that.
Another point I wanted to bring up is that um, the Avatar, the Avatar is supposed to travel the world and get a great appreciation for the whole entire world, but they kept her locked up, and she didn't get that appreciation for the whole world. Like it's one thing to learn all the elements, right? That's part of being the avatar, but really part of being an avatar is not only learning the elements, but learning the cultures of people, getting respect for them, gaining more knowledge and wisdom through them all. Like you can't just do that bottled up in your own little place. Like it's not Korra's fault necessarily the way she is, the way she is. Like Aang traveled the world even before he knew he was the avatar. He went to the Fire Nation, Kuzan. He went all over the place, went to Omashu to visit King Bumi. The Warriors pretty much just stuck in Southern Water Tribe. And they probably stuck her there because for a couple of reasons, which we'll get to down the line, but she was kidnapped at 4 years old, so they had to protect her. But also, you have to ask yourself, why was the White Lotus out looking for the Avatar? Like they were very adamant about looking for the Avatar.
And that just doesn't seem like White Lotus traditional role. I don't remember
yeah,
how
like
Iroh says it, but it's like it's the higher society. It's like not Team Avatar, you
even
know?
even the White Lotus and Rise of Kyoshi, they kind of just looked from a distance. They weren't like, although at one point Jimpa did says like, "Oh, we would have intervened if we knew you were the Avatar," stuff like that.
Fair, fair.
But they were never, to me, that they weren't that adamant about finding the Avatar. They're more like, "Hey, if as long as the Avatar gets found and they know who that person is, let them be whatever." But I think the reason why the White Lotus did this is because they're like, hey, the Avatar went missing for 100 years, and when he came back, he was 12 years old, and he didn't know how to bend three of the four elements. Like the world came back into balance barely, barely. He didn't even master all the elements by that time. He got lucky that a rock poked him in the back, and he was able to go into the Avatar state. This next Avatar, maybe they can be caught up and trained as fast as possible. So
Trying to maybe compensate for some potential guilt for a swing and a miss on not helping out with Aang, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this White Lotus guy in particular, but he's probably just doing his job. I don't want to bash him too hard.
all right, so then Tenzin tells Korra that he's going to Republic City. Republic City is I want to mention the opening. I love the opening.
Oh, it's
Is it?
stellar. The whole opening
Yeah,
video. I'd show it here, but we got flagged for showing one like the first time we did it through, so I didn't even bother
we
trying.
did. We got flagged immediately.
That was like
Um,
episode 1 right there.
yeah, the opening is great. Tenzin does the narration for it. Oh, also want to mention J.K. Simmons voices Tenzin. Uh,
No kidding.
J. Jonah Jameson from Spider Man. He does a great job voicing him here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Much
So,
I know in the very first episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's a fuller video, and then they go to the shorter one. This one feels more informative somehow, like it's filling in gap in between the story that you just got done with and this story here. Like, I don't know why, but it almost feels like it plays a more crucial story role rather than just kind of exposition from the first one. I don't know. I really dug it.
yeah, yeah, and then they don't repeat it
Right.
at any all after that. Just a very short version of just yeah, very short version.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, one thing I want to mention is that the animation in Legend of Korra, they raised the bar from Avatar. Like, beautiful. Like, every single still, especially season one for some reason, season one is really polished. The background's so beautiful. Season two, we'll get into, has some really weird spots because they switched animation studios, and they're back to really good animation in season three and four. But for some reason, season one just stands out. Like especially the scene of like Korra being mad, right? Because Tenzin leaves, and Korra looking over the cliff, like, and the sun is kind of coming down. I don't know, just the way it cascades, the light cascades off of her face, and how she's just buried in her arms. Just really great animation.
Agreed.
Um, so then Tenzin leaves, and Korra's just like, all right, I have to go. And Katara gives her a nice little pep talk, and Korra says goodbye to her family, and she runs away, which is a really, again, interesting dichotomy between Aang and Korra, that Aang ran away to escape his responsibility. Korra ran away to be responsible,
So it
to get
ran
more
away or
training.
ran to essentially this giant crime fest.
Yeah. Which is weird to say that she even ran away because her parents was like, all right, goodbye, sweetie. We understand.
That's what I'm gonna say. She ran
Like,
too. She didn't run from.
yeah. But like who like her whole life was so controlled that even her parents she she felt like she had to escape from the White Lotus essentially. Like how did she not get permission from her parents? Like who has a hierarchy here? She's been so controlled by people her whole life. Um okay, so she gets on Naga. Katara says goodbye, which is a great moment. Katara says like, you know, our time has passed. Aang is gone. My brother is gone. A lot of my friends are gone. Which which is sad just to hear that like Sokka's dead. But
I hadn't had to
it's
think
okay.
about it till she just said it like that. All my friends are gone, except Zuko. I guess
Yeah.
he's somewhere.
And in this moment reflects when Katara and Sokka left and their grand told them goodbye, things like that. Completely reflects that situation,
Mm.
that scene. So then
Awesome
Korra
grandmas
gets
think
on
alike.
Naga. Yeah. Korra gets on Naga, her best friend, her polar bear dog, which is one of the original, right? Even before Appa, because this was the first. Naga was part of the first sketch of like a Aang and a robot monkey and and a bipedal Naga on 2 feet with like a sash or something. Remind me more of a of Chewbacca than anything.
I was thinking like Animorphs or something, but it's messed up. The
Yeah.
the robot monkey, that concept. I'm glad that died.
I guess.
It was a sketch and a draft for a reason.
Yeah. Uh, um, so then Korra gets to Republic City, and the first thing she does is Naga's hungry. She goes tries to get some food, and then I like this hobo that she meets.
Yeah, it's just nice interaction with a random hobo.
Yeah. Like Korra went fishing, caught 3 fish. She firebended them, and this hobo comes out of bush. Hey, can I get one of those burning fishies from you? And she's like, yeah, sure. And she's like, are you living in that bush? And he's like, that bush is what I do call my home right now. Isn't she a beaut? And on a, for some reason, interaction. It's
Took
just,
me a while to find one this uh,
yeah.
pristine, or I don't remember what word he uses, but
And he's looking at it like, so
It
He's such a
sparkles when
great
he looks
cry.
at it. The bush like
Yeah.
glows when he or sparkles like glitter.
Did you put me on mute or something?
I just bumped the mouse so it looks like I was going
Okay.
to. I swear I wouldn't.
My bad. Okay.
Not on purpose.
Um. So then how she get locked? Oh, she goes to this place because she asks for money, or she asks just she's lost. She asks where she's at,
Yeah,
and then these
he tells her the cops show up and he says you can't fish here. So then she runs into the city and now she's trying to get some dough or some
yeah,
food.
well yeah, and then she got lost. She already ate the fish, so she wasn't hungry anymore. But she got lost, so she went to this shop, and these gang members tried to extort money from this little shop. And like I love I'm gonna beat your butt, Cora, because she's like, no hoodlums, like I'm gonna stop you. And then she's like, who are you? She's like, won't you come and find out? And then she earth bends at him. And I love the shopkeepers are like, they watch her like, oh man, that girl's strong. And then she like water bends at him. She's like, wait, did she just water bend? And she fire bends. I think that girl is the Avatar. And again, people underestimate how strong Korra is. Korra grabbed this guy like fire bends at Korra. She grabs his arms, and then she throws him like over over like probably 7 yards in the air.
Causing an inordinate amount of destruction that may or may not have been unnecessary. Korra. God.
Yes, yes, Korra stopped these people, but yeah, it was completely unnecessary. All the damage she did, because then the cops show up, they arrest the triple threat triads, and they also want to arrest Korra. Korra then tries to run away on Naga, gets caught. Oh, we get an introduction of metal bender cops, which is an interesting development. I know a lot of people don't like one of the people's criticisms of Avatar, which I don't think it's a valid criticism. It's a valid thing not to like, but I wouldn't levy it as criticism. Criticism is that a lot of people know like advanced bending techniques, like lightning bending and metal bending. And the way Bryan was saying it, he was like, well, it's kind of like sports, right? He was talking like how high jumping is. I'm like, oh, well, the first time when people used to high jump, they can only get like this far. But then once the person realized this one technique you could do, like bending your whole back over it, and once that person did it, and then so many other people were able to build on that, and it got just up and up and up, and that's how kind of bending was.
Be like,
So
imagine the
maybe
first guy to dunk a basketball and everybody else be like, that looks way easier.
that reminds me of uh why can't I think of the Will Ferrell movie
Old
where he
school?
plays basketball? No, he
Or
plays
not,
basketball in like the
that's dumb.
70s.
Semi pro. I don't know where old school came
Semi-pro,
from.
right?
I'm
So
stupid.
his mom, played by I think Patti LaBelle, died, and she's like an angel, and she gives him a vision of a new basketball move, and then they run the play, and then they do it in the game. It's an alley oop. The guy throws it to him, and he dunks it, and the ref is, and like the whole crowd is just like stunned, and the ref is like technical. He's like foul, foul, and then they're like, wait, what are you talking about? It's like it can't happen. What just happened here? And then someone's trying to explain. It's like, well, no. And then he's like, foul, no, travel. They're like, it's not a foul. No one got touched. It's not a travel. He didn't take 2 steps. It's like, what happened? It's a funny scene.
I've thought about the first dunk quite a bit because in my mind, the first person to dunk a basketball was like this tall, gangly guy that wasn't really supposed to play sports. But then James Naismith was like, "Hey, you got to take a PE class. Come hang out here." And he didn't know the rules, so they threw him the ball, and he just jumped up and kind of like laid it in there because like, oh, that's the easiest way to do it because he's smart and he's tall and he's goofy. And everybody else is like, "Huh, nerd, you're not even doing it right." And then that was the first dunk, and that's how it went in my head. It probably didn't go that way.
Oh man, I thought you were first telling the real story because
No,
I
I
assumed that you
wish.
knew a lot about James Naismith.
I've looked before, I have not found the story of the first dunk. I'm afraid.
Interesting. Someone should do a 30-30 for that.
I would be amazed. I'd watch it. I
Yeah,
imagine that it was not done in like organized play. I would imagine it was done, on a playground somewhere probably.
I mean, who's the first person to like dribble between their legs?
Oh, I
Like,
just you've probably heard me complain about it before, but like even dribbling wasn't introduced into basketball for like its first 4 or 5 years, and I just want to know
yeah.
like who the first guy like dropped the ball and it bounced back up in their hands, and everybody laughs at him. He's like, "No, I meant to do that. Watch." Just keeps doing it over and over again. Like, oh, we should bring that in. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm glad dribbling is involved. I couldn't.
I'm the other way around, man. I would love to watch basketball sans dribbling. I would pay money to watch it. Just floor spacing, and you're either going to be a really good shooter or really good at running the floor or really tall. You're going to be one of those three things to play basketball without dribbling, and I'm going to love it. It's going to be amazing for like once a year. Do it like an all-star game challenge, a 1900s basketball game all-star. Getting really tangential here, but the
It'd
point
probably be when the
that
NBA turns like 100 years old, or basketball turns 100, which would be what? Like,
the NBA, it had to be the NBA because basketball was 1894 or something like that.
really? 1894?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Don't
I
don't
thought it was
quote me on
more
the
like
exact date, but like early
the reason I thought it was like early
1900s
1900s.
was starting to spread out maybe, and
Oh,
then
okay.
but they like maybe the NBA. I'll have to look those dates because I'm sure I'm butchering them, but definitely early 1900s. So, but the point that you're trying to get to is like, yeah, it seems that way, but like if one person does something really cool and then other people find out about it, they find out how to do it because that's how people do things. That's how we live and grow. And that's why there's
Um,
metal bender cops.
so then, so she goes to she goes to jail, and this this officer is just like reading off all her charges and stuff, which is a lot of charges. And and Cora's like, she does the same thing that Aang does of the whole like get out of jail free card of I'm the Avatar type of deal,
Yeah.
which is funny.
But she
Um,
gets no respect in there. It doesn't work,
yeah.
yeah, whatsoever.
Uh, and then Cora says, "Can I speak to people in charge?" Like you're talking to her. I'm Chief Beifong. She's like, "Wait, Beifong? As in Lin Beifong? You're the daughter of Toph. Her and Avatar Aang were friends. They saved the world together." And she's just like, "Ancient history. Don't care." Like,
Almost literally, she's like, what's that got to do with you?
one thing I love. Now I wish I would have rated this episode more because I'm thinking about it more. But I love this character dynamic because those two grow a lot throughout this first season. Which I wish I would have saw more of that. I think season two, Lynn was barely in it, and season three more was going. Season three, Lynn was she had a lot of issues, a lot of family issues she had to work through. That Korra helped out a little bit, but it wasn't like I just want more Korra and Lynn moments. I like their dynamic to each other because they're a lot alike in a lot of different ways.
And then Tenzin
Um,
walks in, and there's another interesting dynamic where there's clearly a history. And he's like, Lynn, you look great, but whatever he says, not quite like that.
yeah, pretty much trying to smooze her over. Whatever.
Schmooze? I always say schmooze. I don't know what
Smoosh,
it actually is.
smoosh. That's the word I'm looking for. And then he pretty much says like he'll take responsibility for her. And then, oh, this episode's also memorable just because of the memes. So when Cora leaves, she's like, I'm watching you," and then, I know I think Lynn goes, "I'm watching you," and then Cora goes, "I'm watching you," and then Lynn is like, "What's that even? What?" Just Lynn doing the what the heck
Just the
pose.
WTF pose. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I'm so
semi-related.
I'm so
I've
I'm
used.
so PG. What the heck?
It's the WTF pose. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
Uh, Semi-related is I've used the "That's Rough, Buddy" GIF. It's in almost like every GIF, like Facebook GIFs, Twitter, Teams. I use Microsoft Teams at work, and you can always find a Zuko saying "That's rough, buddy." And I've used that probably 3 times a week for the past month, give or
Ooh,
take.
really? Man,
Anytime
I have
anybody tells a
teams. I haven't.
story that's like just somebody being a little extra dramatic or whatever, I'm always ready to drop that one.
Random side note: we finally got Microsoft Outlook in my job, and because I'm using Microsoft Outlook this week, got it this week.
Your job finally got Outlook?
Yeah, they were using Lotus Notes before, and I'm
What
like,
kind of
what the
caveman
heck?
nonsense?
I don't know. Anyway, um,
Outrageous.
Korra then explains to Tenzin like she thinks she belongs in Republic City, because Avatar Aang would want it, and also she says like Katara thinks I should be here, and Tenzin's like, don't bring my mother into this. Oh man, I would love to just I need to go find some footage of J.K. Simmons doing Tenzin roles because he does a great job. Which is interesting because honestly, the voice acting is probably, I think, for the most part, better in Legend of Korra than, you know what? That's kind of hard though. Well, the standouts in voice acting in Avatar is Grey Dog Griffin as Azula, Dante Basco as Zuko. Maggie Whitman does a great job also as Katara. But there's
Something that
no,
I'm
no.
gonna say.
I'm gonna give more credit to Korra than Avatar. I think.
Something I'm gonna say for the animation and the voice acting alike. At least in this first season, it it would be very surprising to me if I didn't think it was better. It's you can go back again, go back and watch an episode of Pokemon from 1996. You're like, oh, that was my childhood, but it's not old. And you listen to it, you're like, voice acting is garbage in here, and part of that's translation or whatever. But there was a big enough gap of time in there that I would have been very surprised if I hadn't thought that the voice acting was higher quality and the animation was higher quality. And it didn't disappoint. I think they both were, at least in this one first episode that I've rewatched.
Yeah. So then Tenzin agrees with Korra that she can stay in Republic City, and again, Korra is freaking strong. She like lifts up the three airbending kids and Tenzin. Like I honestly think Korra is probably the strongest character
Yeah, she's
we
like
have
hugged them
seen with
all three and
physical.
just
Like Tenzin's tall. He probably weighs at least, and he's thick too. He probably weighs like 195, maybe 200, because he seems like he's like 6'3". And
I say I don't know
then,
if I buy the thick, but yeah, I can see him weighing 200 plus for sure. Tack a
well,
couple kids on there.
there's just a scene of him in season 3 with his shirt off, and he looks kind of like he's fairly muscular. He's the big guy. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a big guy, but he's not skinny at all. He's thick. And then three other kids, which probably equals a total of 300 pounds. I'm sorry, 100 pounds. So then add all that together, like just lifting 300 pounds is pretty impressive.
And Cora herself is not tall, but they do a good job of making her somewhat physically imposing, uh,
Yeah.
more in sort of tone and animation than anything. But
Yeah. Then she has a press conference, which, so, we learned a lot in the Kyoshi novels that, like, the Avatar was far more integral and I think important in those times. Like the Avatar could like bless a new park, or it could like he or she could settle disputes between land disputes between people. People looked for the Avatar for I feel like every little thing, and Aang didn't do a lot of those things, and Korra didn't do a lot of those things. So like Korra's living in a new generation of Avatar, right? Lin doesn't even respect her as the Avatar. Um, and now she has to deal with like press conferences and stuff.
and the press
But she
conference
does.
scene is probably my least favorite, just because it's like kind of mediocre-ish dialogue. But that's all right.
I would say I think she does a. I think she would do a much better job than Kyoshi would. Kyoshi would have killed
Probably, yeah.
a press conference like Kyoshi, like, I'm the Avatar and you have to deal with it.
That's
That's what she would have said. That would have
that's
been her
when
press
she would.
conference.
Hey, nice full circle there. Way to pull that
Yeah.
back in. No, it's fine. It was just a little bit of a lull for me.
And that is and then the episode ends with someone hearing the radio, which we didn't talk that much about this, but technology has greatly expanded from the series, which I think makes complete sense, and
There
it even lines up to like real world applications. Um,
skyscrapers, motor vehicles, like legit skyscrapers. Those suckers look huge.
yeah,
Fair
there was like
number of motor
hundreds of
vehicles going around. You see the radio. I think there's like cameras flashing and stuff at her press conference.
yeah,
So they uh, go out of their way to show this tech detail in this episode.
which I like and I respect that this show wasn't trying to be another Avatar: Last Airbender. It was really doing its own thing, and some people don't like that. To me, once you go in knowing that's going to be different, it's a little easier pill to swallow. I didn't need to swallow that pill because I I'm pretty accepting of a lot of things, and also I just love it. Her first episode, it was it did a good job introducing the character of Korra and a couple of different side characters, specifically Tenzin and Lin. But yeah, that's oh, I meant to say, so the radio, and then this guy started listening to the radio, and then the lieutenant says like this shadowy figure that has the back turned towards the camera of like, what do we do now? The avatar's out, and then the voice is so chilling, just like it doesn't matter. We'll we'll proceed as planned.
A
Like,
little
oh
earlier, something. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not important. We'll start our plan earlier. Something like
yeah,
that.
something like that. But it's a very chilling voice, and it's voiced by Steve Bloom, who did the voice of Spike in Cowboy Bebop. He did the voice of Wolverine and Wolverine and the X-Men. He's done a lot of. He's a big name. He's like a legend in voice acting.
Unsettling Mask
And
2,
that's the
just a
mom.
nice, unsettling appearance overall.
Yeah.
And that's the end, I think. Cut to credits. The Air Temple Island note there just being that, yeah, Korra's going to stay at Air Temple Island in
Yeah.
between there. Okay, in that case, let's
Also,
go
I want to say
to.
there's a great statue of. Oh, I'll just say also I want to say there's a great statue of Aang, and if you listen to the commentary over book one, Bryan alludes that Toph actually built that statue of Aang, which is nice of her.
Oh, that's cool. It's hard to picture Toph having like an artistic side, but I know that's me just being judgmental because she's blind and I'm being an asshole. The I deserve whatever I get.
You are judgmental.
I know I'm
So
being
yeah, I
horrible,
mean she
but
built
does
the whole small Omashu.
she does the whole small Amashu in the sandcastle? Yeah. So yep, that's just me being dumb. Is that the one? Don't you have the figure of the Republic City Aang statue in that kind of
Yes, I do.
Statue
It
of Liberty
is.
ish green
Oh,
gray?
where is that? Wait,
Up,
no, wait.
up a bit. There we
Oh,
go.
wait. My phone doesn't need to charge anymore.
Oh, good.
Oh,
There he is,
wait.
Republic Aang. He's a good looking statue.
I love the statue. This is my favorite statue of all my statues.
Ooh, high praise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
in the
also
show,
my
in the
most
statue.
expensive statue. Like, actually, I remember when I bought it when it came in the mail. My wife was like, "How much did you spend on that?" It's like $120,
Don't worry about it.
but it was on sale. It was originally $140.
I I just took out like a couple $100 from a certain account the other day that had like accrued some interest and it was like $200 and I took it out and I just told my wife and she trusts me so little that her first thought was you don't get to spend all that on video games. I was like, no, that's not what I said. I'm just taking it out. But I appreciate where her brain went right away. It's like I'd earned that money somehow. No, it's a great looking statue, and in the show, and especially in the opening scene, you get a real good view of it. Killer opening scene. We probably should have spent more time on it, but we're at the end of the episode, and it's a late night, so I say we skip that part for now. Let's go to the ratings. Let's rate this
Ratings.
bad
Honestly, I
boy.
think I might have been too low now I talk about it.
Maybe, yeah.
Audiovisual
I
got
don't
an
know.
8. The thing about Legend of Korra, yeah, I would have. The thing about Legend of Korra is that every episode, pretty much, except for episodes of season 2, a couple episodes of season 2, could probably just get an 8.5. But I'm still comparing it to like Avatar standards because I want to have a good comparison between the two shows.
I guess, but
Um,
I say compare Korra to Korra. Just again, you get to deal with.
Although we can compare them at the end though, and can say can say decisively which one is the best show or has like the best seasons
we'll
or the best
scientifically
stuff.
say
So
that
I'm
regardless.
comparing Avatar to Avatar, but I probably should have gave this episode an 8.5. That might be the floor for a lot of episodes. Anyway, gave it an 8. There's just some great animation in it, which I mentioned before. Story gave an 8.5. I thought we had a really great introduction to a lot of characters. Not much story introduction because that doesn't really come for season 2. They lay a couple seeds there about non-bending, bending. Korra, I did mention before, she comes across this guy who has pamphlets about Amon and his revolution about non-benders rising up, which is a interesting question, interesting story point. They didn't dive down all that a lot in this episode, but still a lot of good character work. I do think the original Avatar pilot did better character work um, with with smaller um, opportunity, or it was way more efficient in its character development just in that one episode. And they did it through a lot of um, uh, dang, the word was just in my head.
Exposition.
Exposition and everything. Yeah. But still, good job here. 8.5. Memorable gets an 8.5. Oh no, gets 8. Sorry, gets an 8. It's a pretty memorable episode just because it's the first episode. I remember loving it when it first came on because it was just diving right back into the Avatar world and things are so brand new, but still relatively the same. It was really good to see how the world changed after Avatar: Last Airbender. So brings it up to an 8.3 out of 10.
I went 8 on audiovisual. Again, that might just kind of be a bar, but you get to see a little of Republic City and all that's cool, and the animation's good. So I don't know, that could be a hair low, but maybe the bar. Story 8. You kind of mentioned it. It's not that there really is a ton of story here. There's a lot of good introduction. It's what I would expect from a pilot, and that's fine.
Yeah,
And memorable 8.5. I gave that a bump just because there are certain things about this that stick with me that kind of set a tone for all of Korra, and that's that initial 2 minutes or so where she busts through the wall and she's like, "I'm the Avatar," and you got to deal with
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And I love that. And I don't know why, but the conversation with that homeless guy and pointing to the sparkly bush, like those weird little things stick with me forever. And the introduction to Amon, and he's a pretty solid villain at this point. So gave that a smidge of a bump. Based on my weights, that brought it to an 8.2, which I don't think I put it in here, but obviously that would be an
yeah.
8.25. Um, Actually, I think it'd be an 8.2 even because you were at 8.25, I was at 8.15. So average rating
Yeah.
of 8.2, and that's the pilot. Welcome to Republic City, Chapter
Oh, I want
1,
to
Book 1,
mention
Chapter 1.
real quick Jeremy Zuckerman's score. Jeremy Zuckerman, who did the
Hmm?
score for Avatar, also did work for Legend Korra, and I think he gets much better. I think he gets well. I mean, everything gets better with time, just like the animation in Legend of Korra. The music is very distinct in Legend of Korra, especially that inner city, like he was very influenced by jazz in it of like the 1920s and that era. Um, and also he still infuses a lot of Eastern Asian music in it as well. And I love the closing of it, just that like it's beautiful to me. Like I love listening to that.
Man, do we got to change our intro and outro noise now that we're on Korra? I never thought of that. We'll see. We'll see. That's work, and I'm very lazy, so it's toss up.
Yeah.
It's great though, and you know, it like I said, for if nothing else, you have to watch this video just to get that pure full intro that you won't get in the rest of the episodes because it's oddly informative. I mean, a lot of time's passed. It's 17 years or however old Korra is since Aang died too, so it's got some gap to fill. I get it, but all in all, very solid pilot in my mind. Does everything a pilot should. I'm a little torn on ratings. Just as I mentioned, it's tough for me to think about rating this versus Avatar because those certain things should get better. You know, voice acting over time, animation over time. Music, maybe not to the same degree, but you know, if Zuckerman is familiar with the world and gets to flex his different muscles, like yeah, I kind of expect all those things to evolve in some sense. So it's a little tough for me mentally to try to rate one versus the other. So I just went with my gut, is what it amounts to on this one. I'm assuming as we get a few episodes in, you establish a feel, sort of a base level. It's a little tough to set ratings on the first one here.
Yeah, yeah. But things are definitely gonna pick up, especially towards like the later third half,
The third,
later third,
that's some
later
hockey
third
shit
part,
right there. I don't know what that is.
the later third of the season. I think really picks up. I mean, the whole season's good, except for
Absolutely.
one episode that I don't like. But I think I might like it more in hindsight.
I have no idea what episode that is because I couldn't tell you what most of the episodes in this season are, but I remembered this one pretty well, and I remembered that I liked it quite a bit. Korra comes
That
out of
is
the
the thing
gate pretty
about Legend
strong.
of Korra episodes. I don't feel like the naming schemes are as good as the naming schemes in Avatar. Like they felt really distinctive. Like Kyoshi Warriors of Kyoshi. Like that, I can easily figure
Yeah.
that out.
But
Like
Avatar gets to go more places. She's trapped in Republic City more of the
true.
time, and that
So
lends
yeah,
itself better. Just guessing, but like the one you said is
no, you're
like
right.
Kyoshi. That
I
makes sense.
mean, Ember Island players. Well, you know they're in Ember Island. The Boiling Rock. They're in Boiling Rock.
It's,
Siege of the North. Okay, they're in North. Now that I think about it, their naming scheme isn't as creative. It's just, hey, where are they at?
it just works. But I mean, it's probably better because it works better. But insert
Yeah,
another John Mulaney joke here. It's like we're gonna call this episode Ninth and K, and then where you want to go? 10 blocks up,
yeah.
2 blocks over. No, probably just lends itself better, I think. Um, but you know, just a guess. That's
Yep.
all I got to say on this. It was great. I was so excited. We've been waiting a long time. I forced myself to just watch the one episode. I'm sure I'll binge in chunks at some point, but it was very exciting just to like get the teaser today. It's very enthralling.
Yes.
All right,
I'm excited for the world to get to know more of the Legend of Korra,
go watch it on
especially
Netflix. Go binge through it if you're not
yeah,
doing it one
especially
at a time.
because I mean, Korra, I feel like um, set um, I guess set the bar for a lot of female empowered being not only a show that's female empowered, but being a show that is led by a female, a fantasy show. I mean, we've seen Shira come out since then. Um, a couple, maybe a few other shows, but Korra seemed to be a trendsetter. And if I'm missing one before this, I mean, there's plenty of other shows. Like maybe like Xena, Warrior Princess. When it comes to animation,
Have we ever
I'm
talked
not
about Xena
sure.
before? I have
Maybe once.
not like a deep
We've talked
dark secret because I'm
we
not.
talked about Xena before because you were watching a bunch of it at one point.
Yeah, it's because it's Sam Raimi or however you say his name. Did the show, and that I have not like a secret thing, but yeah, it's like a guilty pleasure. I love Xena.
I used to love Hercules when I was a
I
kid.
also love Hercules. Yeah, same ballpark of television
Yeah,
show for sure. Or
yeah,
same
Xena. Yeah,
universe.
Xena
Yeah,
was
same
a
universe.
yeah, same universe. Yep,
Yeah.
because she was kind of I don't know, his Catwoman,
On
I
again, off
guess.
again,
Uh,
little bit. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've got a soft spot for Lucy Lawless. What can I say? But
I loved her on Parks and Rec.
yeah, she's great. I'm watching Parks and Rec again. I'm just now getting to her her episodes.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
Tammy.
Tammy won. It's Tammy won. So yeah, that's what I got to say about Welcome to Republic City. We're stoked. We're thrilled. So keep coming back every week. But first, go binge it on Netflix because it is there as of today. It is now August 14th as we speak. Go watch it there. Chris, thanks for recording with me. It was a blast, and I will talk to you next week.
All right.